Chosen one, lock your attention on this message right now. That anxious weight you have been carrying, the one sitting right behind your sternum, the one that wakes you up before the sun rises, set it down for the next few minutes. Because what just happened in the unseen realm changes everything. The highest authority got involved. Not a local court, not a small claims tribunal. The federal level of heaven just stepped into your case. And when authority at that level moves, it does not move to negotiate. It moves to close. It all ends now. The harassment, the injustice, the endless waiting for someone to finally see what has been done to you. But here is what you need to understand before I go any further. This did not happen because you finally broke down and fought back. This happened because of what you refused to do. Think back to that moment this week when every instinct you had was screaming at you to retaliate. Maybe you were sitting alone in a quiet room, replaying the offense in your mind, and something inside you wanted to explode. Or maybe you were on the phone, jaw tight, and instead of saying what you felt, you just exhaled and went silent. You thought that silence was weakness. You thought walking away from that confrontation meant you lost another round. You did not lose. You filed the paperwork. That restraint was not defeat. That was the legal document heaven needed to open an investigation of the highest level. Your silence was the evidence. Your endurance was the testimony. And the moment you chose not to take matters into your own hands, you handed jurisdiction to an authority that the enemy cannot cross-examine, cannot bribe, and cannot appeal. You did not find this message by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. The Holy Spirit did. This is a divine appointment, written into the calendar before the foundations of the earth were laid. You are standing at the moment the gavel comes down. Do not click away. Your future self is begging you to stay, because if you leave now, you will walk out of the courtroom 1 second before the verdict is read in your favor. In the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the legal decree that closes this case permanently. I am going to walk you through the exact evidence you have already submitted, without knowing it, the moments of restraint, the nights of tears, the prayers that felt like they were going nowhere. And at the end, we are going to seal this verdict with a declaration that serves the enemy his final eviction notice. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. It has not just been stressful, it has been suffocating, like the walls of a room quietly moving inward and no one around you seems to notice. Maybe you have been carrying a situation where someone wronged you and faced absolutely no consequence. Maybe you watched them walk freely while you absorbed the damage. Or maybe it was not one dramatic event, but a slow accumulation, a pattern of injustice so consistent that you started to believe the system, both natural and spiritual, was simply rigged against you. You started to wonder if being patient was just a dignified way of losing. You feel suspended, like you are standing in a hallway between the life that was taken from you and the life you were promised, and neither door will open. And in that hallway, the enemy has been whispering a very specific lie. He has been telling you that the reason justice has not come is because you did something to delay it. He has been replaying that moment when you lost your composure, that moment when you said something you should not have said, that moment when you stopped praying as consistently as you once did. He has been telling you that because of those moments you disqualified yourself from the verdict, that the case was almost won and you threw it away. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually declares over this moment. Romans 12:19 says, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord." Listen to the jurisdiction in that promise. He did not say he might repay. He did not say he might repay. He did not say he will consider it. He said, "I will repay." The moment you stepped back and refused to take vengeance into your own hands, you did not forfeit the case. You transferred it. You handed it to the only court in existence that has never issued a corrupt ruling. The enemy wants you to believe that justice delayed is justice denied. But that is a deception built on a misunderstanding of divine timing. You are not in a delay. You are in a deliberation. And deliberation at this level means the ruling, when it comes, is airtight, unappealable, final. The heaviness you feel right now is not the weight of abandonment. It is the weight of a courtroom in its final moments before the judge speaks. That pressure in your chest is not punishment. It is anticipation. The atmosphere is heavy because something conclusive is about to be announced. You thought walking away was your weakest moment. You thought your silence was surrender. But let me reframe your reality right now. That was not weakness. That was the move that triggered federal involvement. Case closed. Justice is yours. And when heaven opens a case, it doesn't close until justice is fully served. Not partially, not eventually, fully. That's what you have to understand about the God you serve. He is not a God of almost. He is not a God of we'll see. When he puts his seal on something, no human court, no corrupted system, no closed door, and no enemy strategy can override what he has already decreed. The case is closed, and it was closed before you even knew it was opened. It's a divine finality, an immutable decree etched into the very fabric of eternity, a truth so profound it recalibrates your entire perspective on adversity. When the heavens close a case, it signifies not a temporary pause, but a complete and utter cessation of the opposition's claim, a definitive pronouncement that renders all earthly attempts at reversal utterly futile. This is the God who operates not on probabilities or potential outcomes, but on the absolute certainty of his word and his will. Some messages don't just inform, they activate. If something stirred deep in your spirit just now, you may be ready to receive the Chosen One's blueprint. This sacred guide reveals the 8 divine patterns behind your calling, your suffering, and your destiny. It also comes with the full audiobook, so you can absorb it during prayer, rest, or quiet moments with God. And for those called to speak his truth, you'll also receive Activating Your Prophet Mantle, a powerful bonus ebook for those carrying a prophetic assignment. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. Now let me show you why this matters for where you are right now. You've been watching something unfold around you that made no sense by natural standards. People moved against you with a level of coordination that felt organized. The opposition came from multiple directions at the same time. Doors closed, relationships shifted, resources dried up, and somewhere in the middle of all of it, you started to wonder, did God forget about me? Is this just how my story ends? Because from the outside, it looked like you were losing. And here's the thing that most people never grasp. The enemy is very good at making the setup look like the ending. He specializes in that deception. He wants you to confuse the middle of your story with the conclusion. It felt like a well-orchestrated conspiracy, a relentless tide of misfortune that crashed against your shores, leaving you feeling battered and bewildered. The synchronicity of the attacks, the simultaneous closing of opportunities, the unsettling shifts in alliances, it all painted a grim picture, a narrative of defeat that whispered insidious questions into the quiet corners of your soul. Has God truly abandoned me? Is this the final chapter of my existence? This is the enemy's master stroke, the illusion he crafts with chilling precision. He is an architect of confusion, an illusionist who masterfully presents the turbulent middle passage of your journey as the final destination. He seeks to trap you in the perception of an ending, to make you believe that the current storm is the ultimate reality, when in truth it is merely a prelude to your triumph. But here's where it goes deeper. What they did to you, whatever was plotted, whatever was carried out in secret, whatever was spoken behind your back or done in the dark, they did it assuming God wasn't watching. They assumed their strategy was hidden. They assumed their strategy was hidden. They assumed the courts of men were the highest courts available. And that was their fatal error. Because long before any human being could gather evidence, long before any investigation could be opened, heaven already had the full file. Every conversation, every betrayal, every twisted motive, every hand that moved against you in the dark. It was all already documented in a courtroom they didn't even know existed. They operated under the delusion of unseen actions and unchecked influence, believing their machinations were veiled from any higher authority. They mistook the transient decrees of human systems for the immutable judgments of the divine. This arrogance, this profound ignorance of the celestial oversight was their undoing. For before the first whisper of accusation could form, before the first stone of their conspiracy was laid, the omniscient judge had already compiled the complete dossier. Every clandestine meeting, every venomous word, every furtive glance, every calculated act of sabotage. It was all recorded in the eternal archives, in a court of justice that transcends all earthly understanding. A place where truth is the only currency and righteousness the only law. Think about what happened with Daniel. When he was thrown into the lion's den, it looked, by every measurable standard, like his enemies had won. The stone was sealed. The king himself couldn't reverse it. Human authority had reached its ceiling. And that is precisely the moment God stepped in. Not before the pit, in the pit. Because there are some deliverances that God refuses to send before the setup is complete, because he needs the witnesses in place to see the outcome. He needed Darius in that moment. He needed the enemies themselves to see that what they designed for destruction became the evidence of divine protection, and what your enemies designed for you, it is becoming evidence. Right now, in real time. Daniel's terrifying plunge into the den of ravenous lions seemed to the empirical eye like an absolute defeat, a dark testament to the power of his adversaries. The decree was sealed, the king's hands were tied by his own pronouncements, symbolizing the ultimate limit of human jurisdiction. Yet it was precisely at this apex of despair, within the very jaws of impending doom, that the divine intervention occurred. God does not always intercept the trial. Sometimes he allows the stage to be fully set, the witnesses to be gathered, so that the demonstration of his power is undeniable. Darius, the very king who signed the edict, and more importantly Daniel's accusers, were positioned to witness not his demise, but his miraculous preservation. Their instrument of destruction was transformed into an irrefutable exhibit of God's protective prowess. And the very machinations that your adversaries employed against you are, in this very moment, being transmuted into the most compelling evidence of your divine vindication. And this leads us to something most people miss entirely. You've been praying for justice. You've been calling it in. You've been asking God to vindicate you. But here's the question that cuts deeper than the prayer. Do you actually believe the verdict is already written? Because there is a difference between asking God for justice and resting in the authority of his judgment. One is a petition, the other is a posture. And God is not looking for you to petition him about something he's already ruled on. He's waiting for you to walk in the confidence of a person who has already read the verdict. Stay with me, because what's coming next is the shift that most people never make, and it's the very thing that keeps the breakthrough delayed. The fervent pleas for justice, the earnest petitions for vindication. These are vital expressions of faith. However, the true seismic shift occurs when your prayers transition from a request for a judgment to a settled conviction of an already rendered verdict. There is a profound distinction between asking for a favorable outcome and embodying the reality of that outcome. A petition is a supplication. A posture is a manifestation of assured inheritance. God is not waiting for a new ruling. He awaits your alignment with his finalized decree. He desires you to walk not in the anxious hope of a future verdict, but in the unshakable confidence of one who has already perused the evidence and knows the judgment to be in your favor. This is the pivot point, the transformative stance that unlocks the floodgates of breakthrough, a step many hesitate to take, thereby prolonging their season of waiting. There is a spiritual law that doesn't get talked about enough, and it's this. Your enemy's actions have a ceiling. They can only reach so high. They can close natural doors, but they cannot close spiritual ones. They can speak against your name in rooms, but they cannot change your name in heaven. And the moment you truly internalize that, something changes in your spirit. You stop reacting to every move they make. You stop flinching every time the opposition adjusts its strategy, because you understand that they are operating under a ceiling that you have already transcended. What you carry is above their reach, and what God decreed over you was established before they even formed the plan to stop you. It is a cosmic limitation, an invisible barrier that constrains the enemy's ability to inflict damage. They can manipulate the tangible realm, slamming shut the doors of opportunity and influencing earthly opinions. But their power is impotent against the divine architecture of your spirit. Your name, though tarnished in the courts of men, remains glorified in the celestial courts. This profound revelation instills a new equilibrium within your soul. The frenetic reaction to every setback subsides, replaced by a calm certainty. You recognize their movements as being confined to a lower plane, a realm you have already ascended from. The essence of who you are, the divine decree etched upon your destiny, is beyond their grasp, established in the eternities past, rendering their present opposition irrelevant to your ultimate purpose. But let me challenge you with something that most people aren't ready to hear. The reason you've been afraid is not because your enemies are powerful. The real reason, if you're honest, is because you've been measuring the battle from your natural vantage point instead of from your spiritual position. You've been looking at the size of what's against you instead of the authority of what's within you. And until that flips, until you stop surveying the battle from the ground and start seeing it from where God placed you, you will always feel outnumbered. But the truth is, you were never outnumbered. You were always surrounded by forces your natural eyes couldn't see. The pervasive fear that grips you in times of conflict is often misattributed. It is not the magnitude of your adversaries that fuels your apprehension, but rather the lens through which you perceive the conflict. When you view the battle through the limited scope of your natural senses, focusing on the imposing scale of opposition, you inevitably feel dwarfed and outmatched. However, the critical shift occurs when you recalibrate your perspective, aligning your vision with your divinely ordained spiritual position. From this elevated vantage point, you cease to see a deficit of forces and instead perceive an omnipresent encampment of divine legions, unseen by the natural eye but eternally present for your protection. You were never outnumbered. You were, and always have been, divinely surrounded. Think about Elisha and his servant. The armies of the enemy surrounded them. The servant panicked. Elisha didn't. Not because the threat wasn't real, but because Elisha could see something the servant couldn't. And when he prayed for his servant's eyes to open, the hills were full. The hills were full. And I need you to hear this for your own situation right now. The hills are full. What God has assigned to your protection, your vindication, and your breakthrough is already in position. The reinforcement didn't just arrive, it was already there. You just needed your eyes opened to see it. The terror that gripped Elisha's servant as he surveyed the encircling enemy forces was a natural human reaction to imminent peril. Yet Elisha, operating from a higher dimensional awareness, remained unperturbed. His tranquility was not born of ignorance to the danger, but from a profound sight that transcended the physical. Upon Elisha's intercession, the servant's spiritual vision was illuminated, revealing a breathtaking panorama. The surrounding hills were not empty, but teeming with celestial chariots and fiery horses, an overwhelming army of divine reinforcement. This truth resonates powerfully with your current circumstances. The resources for your protection, your ultimate vindication, and your long-awaited breakthrough are not en route. They are already strategically positioned, a vast and unseen host awaiting your acknowledgement. The need is not for their arrival, but for the divine opening of your eyes to perceive their presence. And now we reach the part of this message that begins to shift everything, because here's what I want you to understand about divine investigation. Heaven doesn't investigate the way men do. Men gather evidence after the fact. God was present at the origin. He didn't need to build a case from fragments. He saw the conversation before it happened. He heard the intention before the words were spoken. He witnessed the moment the plan was formed in someone's heart. Which means when heaven opens an investigation, it opens with the complete file already in hand. Every page, every exhibit, every witness, everything needed for a full and righteous verdict, already present before the first word of the judgment was spoken. The celestial court operates on principles far removed from earthly judicial systems. While human investigators meticulously assemble evidence post-event, God's omniscience places him at the inception of every matter. He doesn't reconstruct events. He perceives them in their entirety, from the nascent thought to its eventual manifestation. He witnesses the unspoken intentions, the unformed plots, the very genesis of every action. Consequently, when the divine investigation commences, it is not a process of discovery, but a revelation of pre-existing complete knowledge. The entirety of the case, every facet, every participant, every contributing circumstance is already laid bare in the divine record, ensuring an immediate and perfect judgment. Coming up, the one thing that your enemy never anticipated, and it's the very thing that seals the outcome in your favor. The thing they never anticipated was your endurance. They expected you to break. That was part of the plan. They counted on your silence becoming permanent. They counted on your pain becoming bitterness. They expected the weight of the opposition to produce in you what it produces in most people: a retreat from purpose, a descent into defeat, a slow dissolving of the very thing God placed inside you. But you didn't break. You bent, maybe. You cried, yes. You questioned, absolutely. But you didn't break. And that endurance, that inexplicable refusal to be finished, was not your strength. That was God holding something together in you that you didn't even know needed holding. Because He knew what He placed in you was too important to let the pressure destroy it. The enemy's strategic blueprint was fundamentally flawed because it failed to account for the divine resilience embedded within you. Their projections were based on human frailty, anticipating your collapse under duress, your eventual surrender to despair, your transformation into a vessel of perpetual bitterness. They envisioned your purpose dissolving, your spirit wilting under the relentless pressure. Yet you defied their expectations. While you may have faltered, wept, and questioned, you did not break. This unwavering perseverance, this tenacious refusal to succumb, was not solely your own fortitude. It was the divine power of God actively fortifying the deepest core of your being, safeguarding the sacred deposit within you, recognizing its eternal significance and protecting it from the destructive forces aimed against it. And here's where the confrontation deepens. Because the thing that has been blocking your full breakthrough, and I want you to hear this carefully, it isn't your enemy's power. It isn't the length of the delay. It isn't the network of people who moved against you. The thing that has been quietly slowing your forward movement is an unresolved agreement you've made with the narrative of the attack. Somewhere in the middle of the warfare, their story about you got louder than God's story about you. And whether you're fully aware of it or not, some part of you started living inside their version of your identity, started carrying the weight of the accusations as if they were verdicts, started editing yourself to survive what was never meant to define you. And until you consciously revoke that agreement, until you deliberately step out of their narrative and back into what God declared, you will keep carrying a sentence that was never legally yours to bear. The ultimate impediment to your complete liberation is not the strength of your opposition, the duration of your trials, or the scope of the conspiracy against you. It is a more subtle, yet profoundly detrimental factor, an unacknowledged covenant you have forged with the narrative of your affliction. In the crucible of conflict, the enemy's version of your story has superseded God's divine pronouncements. Unconsciously, you have begun to inhabit their fabricated identity, internalizing their accusations as judicial findings, and adapting your very being to navigate a reality designed for your subjugation. This pervasive influence will continue to shackle you until you consciously dismantle this agreement, actively reject their false narrative, and firmly re-establish yourself within the unassailable truth of God's declarations. Until then, you will bear the burden of a condemnation that was never rightfully imposed. This is where the real transformation begins. You were never guilty of what they accused you of carrying. You were not who they said you were. You are not the sum of the attacks. You are not the product of the opposition. You are not what the betrayal tried to make you. And God needs you to say that, not just intellectually, but from a place so deep in your spirit that no voice outside of His can penetrate it anymore. This is the crucible of profound metamorphosis. Recognize with unwavering clarity the charges levied against you are baseless. The identity they attempted to impose is a fabrication, and your essence is far greater than the sum of the assaults you have endured. You are not a mere consequence of opposition, nor are you defined by the scars of betrayal. God implores you to internalize this truth, not as a mere intellectual acknowledgement, but as a deeply ingrained conviction emanating from the very core of your being. A spiritual fortress impenetrable to any external voice save his own. And here is the thing that changes everything, the unexpected truth that reframes all of it. Justice in the kingdom of God was never only about punishing those who wronged you. That's the part people focus on. That's what they're waiting for. But divine justice is equally about fully restoring what was taken. The reputation, the relationships, the resources, the time, the opportunities, the peace, the years, everything the attack consumed. Divine justice isn't satisfied until restoration is complete, which means the closing of this case isn't just about your enemies being exposed. It's about you being fully returned to everything you were designed to walk in. God is not just closing the case against them. He is simultaneously opening every door that their interference shut. The verdict covers both, and the God who is just enough to judge what was done to you is more than faithful enough to restore everything it cost you. Prepare for a paradigm shift that redefines your understanding of divine justice. The celestial court's objective extends far beyond the retribution of wrongdoers, a focus that often captivates human anticipation. True divine justice encompasses the complete restitution of all that was unjustly seized. Your reputation, your connections, your material wealth, the precious moments lost, the avenues of opportunity foreclosed, your inner tranquility, and even the years that were stolen. The finality of this divine judgment is not merely the unveiling of your adversary's transgressions, but the comprehensive reinstatement into the fullness of your intended life. As the case against them is definitively closed, a parallel action unfolds. The irrevocable opening of every portal their interference had barricaded. This singular verdict encompasses both judgment and restoration. The God whose perfect justice pronounces sentence upon those who wronged you is the same infinitely faithful God who is more than capable of replenishing every loss incurred. Place your hand on your heart and declare this with me. I revoke every agreement I have made with the lies spoken over my life. I release the weight of every accusation that was never mine to carry. I step out of the narrative of the attack and into the declaration of heaven. I am not what was done to me. I am not what was said about me. I am not the sum of the seasons that tried to silence me. I am the one God chose before the foundation of the world, and the case heaven opened on my behalf is closed, and the verdict was written in my favor before I drew my first breath. Every door that was shut in corruption is being opened by divine authority. Every resource that was stolen is being returned with overflow. Every name that was dragged is being lifted by the hand of God. I walk forward today, not waiting for vindication. I walk forward already vindicated, already restored, already sealed, already chosen. The enemy's ceiling is not my ceiling. The battle is not mine. It never was. And the God who was with me in every moment they thought they had me, he has never once looked away. Now go back and watch how the story ends. Because the feds were never the final word. Heaven was.